Hello, so it's Helen Brooks here, the Tummy Whisperer, and I'm really pleased to be with you, the Fit&Well community. I'm just going to wait for just a minute or two to let some more people come and join, and then we'll get started. So I hope you're all having a lovely Sunday, whatever you're up to. And I really appreciate you being here. Hopefully this is a subject that will be of value to you. So just watching a few more people coming in here. So hi Zoe, George, Terry. Hi Maddie, wonderful. So technology has worked and I've banished the family. So I'm here in Hove on the south coast of England, and I'm married. I've got my husband Liam and my 2 kids and my sweet little dog Woody. And they were going to sit in the other room while I did this, but I've banished them from the house so that there hopefully will be no kid-like interruptions throughout. So I'm going to leap in and get started. So I'm here today to talk about how hypnotherapy can help with IBS. So I've got the comments on, so certainly do let me know if you've got IBS, and hopefully what we cover today, there'll be time for questions. I've got some questions that people sent in earlier that I'll cover, but hopefully at the end of what we talk about today, I'll have time to take on a few more. But if I don't, then absolutely get in touch over. You'll find me at the Tummy Whisperer on Instagram, where I'm really happy for you to send me any messages in the DMs. So a bit of an intro to how I became the Tummy Whisperer, I guess. So as you know, my name's Helen, and I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, and I've got 17 years experience. And I guess my journey started many years ago. I'll take you right back to when I was a child. I won't be here for 3 hours, don't worry, you're not going to get my whole life story, but sometimes it's just really nice to know a little bit more about somebody. So I guess as a child, I was always really fascinated about what went on in other people's minds, and was really into autobiographies, especially where people had been in challenging situations. So I remember being really fascinated by hostages and how they'd had the mental capacity to cope with those situations. So I guess drawn to where people had had to use the strength of their mind to overcome difficult things, and also intrigued as well about the power of the mind. I remember being a really young girl and my dad telling me a story about a woman who had single-handedly lifted a car off her child that had been run over. And it's fascinating, isn't it? It's like, how can somebody do that? And it's the power of the mind that can totally transform the body. So I guess that was the early beginnings, was this fascination with the mind. As I went through life, through teenage years, I had a really difficult time where I suffered with anxiety. So again, was really interested in why my mind had become anxious, what I could do to help. And I was really lucky that I got some amazing care and had therapy at that time, and my life was transformed. And it was at that point that I knew that I wanted to be that person for somebody else. And that led me to study a degree in applied psychology at Sussex University some years later. And from that, I had planned to go on and study to be a clinical psychologist, but plans change. And instead of more study, I decided to travel the world, which was wonderful. And it gave me a lot more time to really consider my options and to read lots of books and meet lots of fascinating people along the way. And it was during those years that I discovered hypnotherapy. I was just really drawn to it for so many reasons. And so when I returned in 2003 from my wonderful travels, I studied for a diploma in hypnotherapy, and the rest, as they say, is history. So I love hypnotherapy because it's very solution focused, and it's incredible at creating changes. So incredibly, flexible. So you can work with people to help them stop smoking, you can help with stress and anxiety, but also physical conditions. And a lot of people are a little less aware of that. So hypnotherapy can be very useful for reducing pain, also used for lowering blood pressure, But also, most importantly here today, what we're talking about is that hypnotherapy is really wonderful for reducing symptoms of IBS. And I go by the name of the tummy whisperer, but I always feel like I want a big megaphone, because in my experience, there are so many people out there suffering. I mean, if we look at statistics, something like around 20% of women, slightly less men, suffer with IBS. So that's a huge proportion of the population. And it makes sense, doesn't it, that if you have got problems with your digestive system, that the first thing you're going to look at is nutrition and what you're eating. But if you get or don't get the results, so absolutely nutrition and working with somebody who knows how to help IBS through nutrition is great, but there is quite a large percentage of people that it really doesn't make any difference to them. They get limited relief from symptoms. And so really that's where my work comes in. So there's a lot of people that have chronic IBS with pretty severe symptoms that does not respond to dietary changes or medication. And those people, I really feel they're sort of left with no other options. And yet there's this incredible option that is incredibly well researched. So there's 35 years of scientific research that shows that a course of hypnotherapy, and when we talk in terms of IBS, it's referred to as gut-directed therapy or gut-directed hypnotherapy, you know, the results are phenomenal. So Professor Worrell back in 1984 was the first study. And again, a study in 1987 showed that in his patients who were all suffering from refractory IBS, which means severe untreatable IBS, were taken through a course of hypnotherapy. And those with classic IBS symptoms, 95% of them responded and had a reduction in symptoms by 50% or more. So the statistics are phenomenal, and I just feel that not many people that are suffering with IBS are aware of this. I guess that there aren't that many hypnotherapists out there that specialise in this. Perhaps people just aren't aware. So I'm here to spread the word, get the megaphone out and let people know that there is treatment that helps. So let's have a think. What else do I need to tell you? So having a look at some of the questions. So is hypnotherapy effective for IBS? Yes, absolutely. There's been lots and lots of different studies, and usually they're somewhere between 85% to 95% success rates, but also there have been studies that have followed these patients for long term. So the longest study was following the group of patients for 5 years, and their symptoms were reduced for that amount of time. So they probably would have stayed reduced if they'd followed them any further. But that's phenomenal, isn't it? So yes, it's effective. Yes, there's loads of research, and it's kind of like the superhero for people with IBS that doesn't respond to diet or medication. So let's have a look. What other questions came through earlier in the week? Okay. What does it actually do? Okay. So I'll go back one question before that, actually, which is, what is hypnotherapy? What is hypnosis and what is hypnotherapy? So I guess for a lot of people, hypnosis is stage hypnosis. So there are, you know, countless silly TV shows that have showed people clucking like chickens or doing silly things. So a lot of people think that's what hypnosis is, so that you're under somebody's power or you're being made to do something. But hypnotherapy is really using that state of hypnosis to create positive change, either in the way that you think, the way that you feel, or the way that you behave, or all three of those things. So a state of hypnosis, or sometimes referred to as a state of trance, is really a really natural state. And we all go into a state of trance in any one day. So when we're daydreaming, you know, that moment where your eyes are stuck on the wall and somebody's talking and you're not really listening. You know that they're there and you know that they're talking, but your focus is narrowed on something else. But you're not unconscious in any way. You're still aware of your surroundings. It's this relaxed state with a focus and an absorption on something. And in that state, the subconscious mind becomes more receptive. So it becomes more receptive to the suggestions that are given. We can also use images as well. The subconscious mind loves imagery. Subconscious mind is the part of our mind that is busy with dreams when we're asleep. And that's all imagery. So in the same way that the subconscious mind can communicate to us through dreams and imagery in that way, we can use images to communicate with the subconscious mind. And that's something that is used within sessions. So hypnosis is a natural state, a comfortable state, a state where you're aware of your surroundings and in control, but it's a state where we can access the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is the part of our mind that is responsible for all those automatic functions that go on in the body, all the things that we don't need to think about. So although we can control breathing through conscious thought, we don't need to think ourselves to breathe in and to breathe out. We don't need to think about our blood flow or blood pressure. We don't need to think about our temperature. And equally, we don't need to think about digestion. It's an automatic function. And so communicating with the part of the mind that looks after those automatic functions, we can actually change them. And that's how hypnotherapy works with reducing the symptoms of IBS, so we can change the responses within our digestive tract. So then moving on to the question, which is, what does it actually do? Okay, so with people suffering from IBS, and again, it's a group of symptoms, so everybody's different and everybody's unique, but hypnotherapy works on changing the communication between the gut and the brain. Sometimes the gut's referred to as the second brain, and we've got something called the gut-brain axis, and that is this bidirectional communication. So what's going on inside the gut is relayed up to the brain, and also what's happening in the brain is then relayed down into the gut, and that makes changes. So the two are always talking to each other. So hypnosis can change that communication, and in that it can do things like reducing the sensitivity of the GI tract. So in some patients there's this increased sensitivity, a hypersensitivity, and it can reduce that. It's almost like turning down the dial on the sensitivity. Also, it can make changes because when we become stressed, the signal from the mind travels down into the gut, and then that makes lots of changes through all sorts of different parts of our GI tract. So for example, if we're stressed, then it can stop the contents of the stomach from emptying properly and create contractions. So you can get pain and bloating and cramping, but also the hormones that will be activated because we're stressed will be the little messengers that send signals that are picked up all the way through the digestive tract, and that can change the biochemical messages that are sent back to the brain, can cause bloating, can cause constipation, can cause diarrhea. So many changes. So it's working with that, and it's altering that communication so that things work more smoothly and reduces. So hypnotherapy reduces what are called colonic symptoms, so bloating, nausea, constipation, diarrhea and cramping and gas. But also it helps with a lot of other symptoms, things like backache or headaches or fatigue or insomnia. And that's really wonderful too. So yes, nutrition is powerful and it's wonderful and it's a great place to start, but IBS has all sorts of other effects on how we feel in ourselves. So it can create anxiety. If you didn't have anxiety before you had IBS, then the symptoms, just dealing with the symptoms itself can trigger anxiety, can trigger stress, and then that anxiety and stress is sent in a message from the mind back into the gut that then stresses the gut. So we get this vicious circle, and hypnotherapy can help by lowering stress levels and calming anxiety. So it's really wonderful. So let's have a look at some of these questions. So what does it actually do? That's what it does. So what happens in a session? Okay, so a typical session would be taking a case history. So in terms of when we're looking at hypnotherapy and how it works, so it's a number of sessions. So usually 8 sessions. A course of treatment is recommended. I'd love to say I've got a magic wand and I can see you in one session and everything's completely transformed, but it's a process of change. And about 8 sessions are required. But in a session, so we take a case history, we talk about how you're feeling, what's been happening, monitor symptoms, and then I get you to just let your eyes close and start by focusing on your breathing, just letting your breathing become more relaxed, and then moving on to what's called progressive relaxation, which is simply allowing the body to relax. So focusing on the toes, allowing the toes to relax and working all the way up through the body. And as the body becomes more relaxed, the mind becomes more relaxed. And then we move from that state of relaxation into trance. And as I said earlier, that you're in complete control, you can hear everything going on around you. It's just this narrowing of attention. And then in that state, I give you suggestions, and these could be through words, such as, your body feels comfortable, your digestion runs smoothly and easily, any bloating reduces, or more often it's through images, such as imagining drinking a wonderful, soothing, healing liquid that does all the things that your body needs. So if you had heartburn and dyspepsia, that it's cooling and soothing, that it moves down into the stomach and soothes and heals the stomach, calming everything as it moves. And then picturing that, and it's this deep, relaxed state as the body becomes more and more relaxed. And the images too are used then by the subconscious mind to make these changes to your body. What's also important is to listen to these. So when I talk about hypnosis sessions, sometimes just listening to an audio, not even a live session. So hypnosis can be done face to face, or it can be done through Zoom. Zoom's also effective, which is great given the current circumstances and what we've been through recently, but also listening to audios. So they're like a guided meditation, but it still gets you in that state where the subconscious mind is receptive and it acts on those suggestions and images that are contained within that to change your symptoms. And that's really it. That's what happens in a session. So there's practice in between sessions, regular listening to the audios and monitoring symptoms. So let's have a look. Is it safe? Yes, absolutely. Hypnotherapy is safe. You can't ever get stuck in a state of trance. Nothing bad can happen. But absolutely always see a hypnotherapist who is qualified. Any side effects? So no side effects other than what we'd term positive side effects. So things like better sleep, feeling calmer, feeling more confident. All of those things are addressed within a course of treatment, which is wonderful. Anyone it's most beneficial for. So yes, hypnotherapy is most beneficial for those people where they've tried everything and nothing else is helping. So if you're going round and round in circles with diets and getting really stuck and then getting really stressed out about it, then hypnotherapy is the superhero that can help you. Or also if medication doesn't help. So if there's nothing else that can help, it's really important that you don't give up and you don't think that it's something that you've got to live with. Am I out of control? So no, I discussed that earlier. So a state of hypnosis, you're absolutely in control. So if hypnotherapy can help my IBS, does it mean IBS is all in my mind? So no, absolutely not. IBS is not in your mind at all, it's in your body. But what I'm saying is that the communication that goes on between the gut and the mind means that we can use the mind to transform the functioning of the gut, which is really wonderful, isn't it? And actually, when you look at a lot of the latest research and this communication that goes on, it to me sometimes seems incredible that we could even change IBS just through nutrition because of this constant communication that goes on that affects our mood. Everything that happens in our mind, all our emotions are then reflected in the way that the gut is working. And also everything that's going on in the gut is relayed to the mind. So we shouldn't really treat one in isolation from the other, that they are working constantly together. So we need to look at working with both of those. Does stress exacerbate IBS? Yes, absolutely. So the stress that you're experiencing, whether it's external stress or whether it's stress because of IBS, definitely, has an impact. So reducing and dealing with the stress will improve symptoms. So, okay, I think that's all the questions that I'd had. One thing that I mustn't forget to say is that you can find me over on Instagram, The Tummy Whisperer, and there's a link in my bio that will take you through to a hypnotic relaxation. And there's also a breathing technique. So the breathing technique is designed to get your nervous system into a state of what's called rest and digest. Breathing in this way activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So it's the body's calming system. And when the body's in that state, then the digestion goes into this state of rest and digest. And that in itself can have an impact. So hop over there after this and go along and get the freebies and also the audio so that you can listen and experience what it feels like to experience a state of hypnosis. And I'd really, really love to hear some feedback from you and let me know if it's been useful. I'm also really happy to answer any questions that you might not want to share on here. So you're welcome to message me privately. But let's have a look and see. I've got a few minutes left, so let's have a look and see. Does anybody have any questions, hopefully that I can answer? Don't ask me anything too hard on a Sunday night. Let's have a look. I've got lots of waves. Lovely to see you all. Here we go. Pressing the buttons, making the camera wobble. Okay. So it says questions from your viewers will be shown here. I can't see any. Cancel. Maybe you're all just wonderful, friendly people. Give me a wave, but nobody's got any questions. Maybe I have. Okay, I've got one here. So yeah, my teenager has IBS, especially during exam stress. What shall I do to help? Okay, so, well, I guess the first thing I'd do is go and download my audio and get her to have a listen. So to practice regular relaxation. So the two things that I mentioned a moment ago would be really helpful. So the breathing technique is great because it's something that you can do wherever you are out and about, and that really helps just to slow everything down. So one problem a lot of my clients have is that they get very anxious, and then that creates urgency. And for some people it means that just leaving the house is really, really difficult, which is why I've created an online program so that you can access it from the comfort of your own home and don't have to leave the house. So the breathing technique's brilliant, and also listening to the audio, so it just allows everything to come back into a state of calmness, and just reassuring her as well, so that exams are a particularly challenging time, but just reassuring her that actually it doesn't matter what the outcomes are, that she's fully supported and you're there for her, which I'm sure you do already. But yeah, just be reassuring and kind, and let her know that that these techniques will be useful and helpful for her. So I hope that helped. Okay, so no more questions that I can see. I'm just going to have a quick look at my notes, see if there was anything at all that I missed. So anyone who's joined partway through, you'll be able to, if I save this properly, you'll be able to come back and have a look. So yeah, no, I think that's it really. It's been absolutely wonderful to be here with the Fit&Well community, and thank you all so much for coming to join my talk today, and I really hope that it's been useful. So remember that if it's something that you're not suffering from, likelihood is that you'll know somebody that is. So definitely tell them to come and find the Tummy Whisperer. I'm on a mission to transform the world one tummy at a time. Don't forget my big megaphone. I'm actually going to buy one day and bring it out so you'll remember me. Orange jumper, megaphone, big smiley face, transform your IBS. Okay, so I think that's goodbye for me. Enjoy your Sunday, and hopefully I'll get a chance to come back and talk to you all again. All right, loads of love. Bye.